How do we stop students from becoming AI dependent?
I mean, so that's like asking the question, how do we stop students becoming independent of the internet? It's the same thing, isn't it? It's just like it's what's available, it's what's ours. It's going to become part of our everyday. We're going to be. I find myself using it more and more and more, and sort of incidentally, it's like, oh yeah, I could do that on ChatGPT. Oh, I could do that on ChatGPT. I've got to think of a new title for a YouTube video, and I've got a title, and I don't think it's very good, and I just put it into ChatGPT and say, listen, this is my next YouTube title. Can you think of a better version of it? Bang, here's 20 more. And so I think really the truth is that's going to happen. It's going to be like, for example, we're not as good at adding up anymore in our heads. I mean, I used to be brilliant at adding up in my head. I'm still not that bad, but I used to be brilliant at it. These days, because of calculators, I'm not so good. I used to be good at remembering telephone numbers. Now I'm terrible at it because my telephone remembers them all. So I'm not really sure whether or not we can stop that dependence. I think it's the skill to use these tools effectively to almost lift your learning and what you can do to another level. It's a little bit like what I'm doing with it when I'm using it for YouTube. I mean, I'm using it really to make the production of my YouTube videos at every possible conceivable level better. Yeah. So for example, I'll write in a description of my video and then put it into ChatGPT and say, can you tidy this up and write it a better version of it? I think that's what we're trying to do with these AI tools. I think we will depend on them just like we depend massively now on the internet.
Great. And then with dependence comes ethical issues. I mean, what ethical, we can use it almost like Icarus or Daedalus. I mean, what ethical issues does AI raise in education specifically?
God, too many. I mean, I'm listening to
Mm.
a book at the moment and it is frightening. And then the whole kind of area of, yeah, I mean, it's just that's, I think I mean, the book that I'm listening to at the moment is talking to them on a really kind of cynical level about, AI and war and stuff like that. But it's sort of talking about how, just use the one use of the technology could be for good purposes, for negative purposes or for positive purposes. When you're talking about ethics, are we talking about ethics within education, making sure that we can prove that the content was produced ourselves, etc., that kind of thing? Or are we thinking about the whole area of privacy, the dangers there, the whole area of using ChatGPT to find out information that really we shouldn't be privy to? You know, yeah, it's a minefield, really. It's an absolute minefield at the moment, and I think it's something that we're going to be grappling with for years now. Because I never think we've ever got to the bottom even of the role that the internet plays and how that. The ethics of the, we could be talking about copyright as well. I mean, there are just so, what is it? Uh, you know, ChatGPT has scraped data from the world basically, and it's done it for free. And it's done it without, having to cover copyright costs and etc. Things like that. There are so many considerations. I think one thing that we have to do in education is just make sure that we make the rules absolutely clear to the students. And it's got to be that they have to make it clear wherever they've used ChatGPT and copied and pasted anything, or wherever they've used something and then taken that information and adapted it for there. And I think they've just got to be as transparent as possible about how they've used a particular technology when writing a paper or when doing research, etc. I think that
Yeah.
that's what we have to do.
And I'm not sure if the Turnitin can detect it yet. I'm not
No,
sure really.
no, I
And
mean, I
that's
think they're
the,
really struggling, Edward. I think you're
yeah,
right. I
yeah,
think they're really
yeah, yeah,
struggling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So some of the harbingers of doom, but maybe the harbingers of hope. I mean, what excites you most about the future of EdTech?
Yeah, another book that I'm trying to think about the name of it actually, but another book I'm reading at the moment is, or I've been listening to, it's on an audio book that I've got on the go,
Mm.
um, is talking about how the way that we perceive the world and the information that we perceive, how we misinterpret things, how the reality is, what the facts say. Okay, and what I mean by that, if we took, say, for example, let's take it on a very narrow area for at the moment. So if we was to look at, say, sort of the standards of living around the world and that, and people will be saying, oh, you know, over the last 10 years there's been a depression and blah 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 and blah blah blah. But if you look at statistically, this is what this book's saying, right? If you really look at the statistics over, say, the last 20 or 30 years and look, see how many people have come out of poverty, or how many people have been killed in wars in the last 50 years compared to the previous 50 years, or blah blah blah. Actually, many things that we perceive as going in a negative way. For example, crime in America. Okay, that this is the example that they're giving in the book. Yeah, saying the perception is that crime's increased, but the statistics would suggest the opposite. Okay, and I think in a way that I feel like that about technology. We often feel that there hasn't been widening participation because of the digital divide, etc. But I think actually there has, and that more people than ever have got access to education, and more people than ever are being educated. Now, it's not to say that there's not a digital divide, and the reality is that those that are success, that have got access to a lot of technology, they do infinitely better. But it's still the people at the bottom are being lifted up by these things, and I do believe there's a lot of truth in that. I spent a lot of time in China. And I certainly saw that in China in terms of the way that China had changed the world, changed access well, I mean, simply the quality of standard of their living and the quality of their lives for many people. And I think the same thing's going to happen with AI. I think it can do a lot of good. I was listening today about things like just how they use these AI technologies now for mining, masses of information, say in the genre of, say, medicine. And then these AI tools have got an ability to kind of pull threads of information together that we've never recognized and say, look, there seems to be a correlation between this and this. It's incredible what these technologies have been managing to do. I was listening to something in the same book today about mining and about how it's helping to get a greater understanding of where there might be. For example, they keep finding lots of water in the earth, and that's a lot of this to do with the AI helping them to be able to again, build threads and links together between information that would suggest, oh, there might be water in this place or there might be water in that. So I think it's very difficult sometimes to understand just to what extent AI could end up having an impact on so many areas of our lives. And I think in education as well, it will have an impact. It won't be as good as we want it to be. We'd really love it to mean that people in countries across the world really do have access to these technologies and that there wasn't a digital divide. The reality is that it won't be like that. There will still be a digital divide, but I still think that it might still allow many people to have access to learning tools and access to information that they previously wouldn't have had access to.